3 stocks that are about to squeeze hard. I pulled 3 stocks out of my stock screener that pulls the best short squeeze candidates on the market right to your front doorstep. Here we go. First up, we're talking about MBLY, MBLY ticker. We're looking at the 1-week chart here. I started to calling this name out in the beginning of October. We are up a staggering over 50% since I started calling this name out, and we still have plenty of room to run. Let's look at it. We have a high 5 setup, my personal trading strategy. We had a symmetrical triangle pattern breakout. We had also with that a inverse cup and handle breakout. Sorry, inverse head and shoulders breakout. We went to the upside on the daily chart. We broke this. We retested right here before continuing higher. This name is 22% shorted. 22% shorted. And I don't think the shorts covered really at all. Next up on the high 5 setup, we have a volume shelf with a volume gap of some sort. As we see here, we have this massive volume shelf sticking out here, and we are just sitting on that still. We've already had this nice push up off this larger volume shelf, but this is still all a volume shelf in here, just getting smaller as we go up, right? So we still have a nice volume shelf, and we have this beautiful volume gap right here up to about $20.62 to about $22. We also have a price gap here that we can't see, we can only see on the daily chart right here. Like I said, we have a price gap right there. The low on this is $20.01. So that is where we're aiming to fill the gap. I was calling this out earlier in the week. We dropped back down here we dropped back down here today to fill this gap, and then last week we dropped back down to fill that gap. So this name does like to fill its gaps that it creates, so even more reason to believe this $20.01 gap is going to get filled. Our measured move is up to about $22.09. Our price targets along the way are going to be at, we already hit our first price target of 17.21. Our next price target is going to be 20.01 to 20.30. And then from there, 22.09 and then 24.95 with this big resistance point up here where it used to be support. And now it's resistance. And you also have this massive volume shelf there that'll act as resistance, L resistance. So I think this name still has plenty of room to go and squeeze. Like I was talking about, we have our first high 5 setup, which is the first on our high 5 setup is going to be a charting pattern of some sort. We have 2 have already had our breakout, and we're not to our measured move of 22.09 yet. Volume shelf with a volume gap. We move on over here. We have our MACD uptrending, increasing volume, bullish trajectory on the upside. We have our RSI making higher lows, coming out of the gulag, as I call it, higher lows here, and continuing to uptrend. As we can see, very, very oversold, and now making a higher low and continuing to the upside at only 44.51. And then we are just about to cross into the sweet spot on our trend, and we are red over yellow, which is extremely bullish, making our high 5 setup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as you can see on the chart. And then a little bonus I like to add in before we get into the next stock, we have our Williams R. I love to be up here in this overextended area on the Williams R. I look for this first pullback to be resistance, support. But honestly, I'm going to look for a bit of a bigger pullback when we do get one, and then I'll make our consolidation box at that point when we do. I'll just leave our consolidation box now at our 20 line, and that'll act as our, if we bust down below that on the weekly, that is extremely bearish. It may be a sign of this move coming to an end, along with one other indicator being bearish, either MACD rolling over, RSI rolling over, purple through yellow to the south side, or stochastic rolling over to the south side. Next up, we have CRK, Comstock Resources. So we have a beautiful symmetrical triangle, as you can see, starting back in 2022, a beautiful symmetrical triangle. We've bounced, we've consolidated, and now we've had a breakout, a retest. We are sitting on this nice volume shelf, and now we are making a move higher with this volume gap to fill here at 1472 and up here at 1704, where our first price target is. We have had back-to-back weeks, an 18% week, and then last week has, or this week so far, has been a almost 8% week. So we are moving. As you can see on the chart, I have this yellow line drawn up. This is going to be the pullback area. It's subsequently right at our 9 EMA line, as you can see right here. Our 9 EMA line is at $12.18. Coming back to this volume shelf will be $12.28. It might not come back. It might be too far gone. But if that is the case, you move on to the next. There's no crying over spilt milk here. There's plenty of stocks out there. You got to find the ones and you got to be early to them. You don't want to be late to them. I do not want to be getting in up here tomorrow and then have this pullback and then be down, you know, over 10% on my position, and then your stop loss hits, so on and so forth. So wait for the pullback. If we don't get it, move on to the next. So it is a high five setup though. We have our symmetrical triangle pattern. We have our volume shelf with our gap fill. And then we have our, as you can see, our uptrending MACD. We are over the zero line as well, so that's very bullish. Our uptrending RSI and our uptrending trend, which is red over yellow, bullish, and we have our consolidation box with our pullback. We also have our Williams R with our pullback. So actually, I would say if you wanted to get into this, your signals are going to be if we break this support on the Williams R, if we break this 80 line support on the stochastic, or if we roll over and down on the RSI. And I'm not going to say the MACD because the MACD lags all these indicators. So if we get a combination of those, the Williams R and the RSI, or the RSI and the trend, or the trend and the RSI, if we get a combination of those two rolling against us, then it's time to exit. So you could enter this name, but also just look up here. We are running into the red line. We are running into the extreme over exhausted area. So it is probably time for a pullback, and I'll look to add down here somewhere, which, like I said, should give you a pullback to around this yellow line. So I'm going to be patient on this name and wait for that. Last up, our number 3 on the short squeeze list is another 29% short float. And if I didn't say it, I don't know if I did. 26% short float on this name. If you don't know what that means, it basically means that 29% of the outstanding shares that are out there are being shorted by a hedge fund, Wall Street, etc. And basically what that means is they have X amount of time to cover those shares. And if the name really starts running up and they are holding their shares still, they will get margin called. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Margin Call or heard about margin call, but it's essentially where you are borrowing something that is not yours. And essentially, when they come to claim that item, that money, that car, that whatever is not yours, they will repo your car. Meaning meaning in this case, Wall Street or the hedge funds have to buy back those shorted shares, and it causes the stock to squeeze to the high side. So that is why it's called a short squeeze. It's because hedge funds or Wall Street getting over leveraged and essentially buying up the shares with limited quantity out on the markets, especially if you have a bunch of people holding on to them. Just look at the GME, GameStop saga, the AMC, the whole saga around that, which those are starting to run now as well. But yeah, so 29% short float. Explain what a short squeeze is. We have a symmetrical triangle pattern breakout. We are sitting right here at this volume shelf. That's number 2 with a volume gap. That's number 2 on our high 5 setup. We have a bullish MACD crossing through the 0 line, blue over orange, completely obviously bullish. We have increasing volume. We have a RSI moving to the upside, bullish trajectory, making higher lows. And then we also have our stochastic, our trend moving through the sweet spot, making higher lows. We have not yet had our pullback, a large enough pullback to establish our support on our Williams R. So we're still waiting on that. And even more reason to pull up the chart here. Even more reason for this name as well to maybe wait for a pullback. We are here at the highs. I would maybe wait for a pullback down to here or here, create that consolidation box. If you don't know what the consolidation box is on the Williams R, I might have coined the name, I don't know. But essentially, you go sideways like this as the stock price continues to go higher. It's a consolidation box, and you have your first big pullback once you break over this -20 line. Your first big pullback is going to be your support. You draw your box to the red line, down to the support. The red line is just the highest highs that's ever made. The support is just like a stock. Just like a stock. And that support, if it breaks, that's bad, that's bearish. If it holds and just stays in here, you can just hold on to the stock as long as you want, because it's just going to keep going higher and higher and higher. So that was MobileEye, CRK, and MCW. Mr. Car Wash on this one. So 29% short float on Mr. Car Wash. Sometimes these tickers and names, sometimes they're funny, but clearly it's a big business, $2.74 billion market cap. So we have multiple setups here. Price target on this one, the measured move, the gap fill would be $12.36. The measured move is going to be up to $20.78. So this name could really get running. I may be adding a 20 to 30% starter position. And if we get a pullback, fully entering this position. If we don't, I'm fine with just running with my 20 to 30% position to the upside. CRK, going back to that one, we have multiple profit targets. We have 1704, we have 2001, and then we have 2071, and then we have 2469, which is going to be your measured move from breakout, and the measured move from your symmetrical triangle pattern. So couple short squeezes for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously with these short squeezes, they have massive move potential. I think MobileEye still has a lot in the tank. And then I think CRK and MCW are just honestly getting started. So check them out, add them to your watch list. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.